Good morning, dear student. Today we're going to discuss about the solubility. Okay, so solubility actually is defined by it's the amount, the maximum amount which can be actually dissolved in a specified amount of solvent. That means in a fixed amount of solvents. Okay, so in a fixed amount of solvent, how much solutes or how much that substance can be dissolved in maximum amounts is known as the solubility of that substance or that solute. Understand? So actually, the solubility of a substance or a solute in a solvent is depends upon many things. Okay, it actually depends upon the nature of solutes. Okay, also the nature of solvent, and also the some external factor like temperature, okay, and pressure. So let us now discuss in details about the effects of these factors. That means the first of all the solute and the solvent, and then we're going to discuss about the effect of the temperature and pressure on the solubility of a substance. Understand? So at first let us discuss about the solubility of a solid in a liquid. Okay, so that means the solute is in solid state and the solvent is in your liquid state. Okay, so again in the actually initially we already you know mentioned that the solubility of a substance, okay, is depends upon what some nature, like the nature of the solvent and nature of the solute. So now let us first discuss about the nature of the solute and solvent, how actually they will going to determine the solubility of the substance. Okay, so first of all you have to know that like dissolve likes, like dissolves likes. What is the meaning of it? Actually the nature of the solute or the substance and the nature of the solvent should be similar, then only they can actually the substance can dissolve in that solvent. That means like dissolves likes. Okay, like solutes dissolve in like solvent. So what is the meaning of it? Actually it is actually depends upon the polarity of the substance and the polarity of the solvent. If the polarity, if they have some polar, or if the substance is in polar form, okay, or they have some dipole moment, net dipole moment, and if the solvent has also some net dipole moment, or if the solvent is also in polar solvent, okay, then they can actually the substance can dissolve in that solvent. Understand? That means the polar substance can dissolve in polar solvent. So what do you mean by again what do you mean by polar? So polarity is actually depends upon the dipole moment. I think you know what is dipole moment. Dipole moment is depends upon, actually this is mainly due to the difference of electronegativity. Okay, mainly when we are talking about electronegativity, we are mainly observe the electronegativity, or we are discussing this electronegativity in a bond, okay, in a chemical bond, mainly covalent bond. Okay, so when some bond is formed between two atoms or some elements, okay, by sharing of electrons, then they will going to form what? Covalent bond. Okay, but due to the electronegativity difference of the two elements, their shared electron will be more towards one of them actually. Okay, so because of that, the one part of that actually one element will be more electronegative, more electron rich than the other element. Okay, that means that actually the electron cloud which is in between the two elements are more towards one of them, which has actually more electron negativity. Okay, so because of that, actually some dipole moment will be there. Okay, and this actually the dipole moment is denoted by a vector, because this has some direction, and also this has somewhat dipole moment has also some magnitude and direction. So it will going to it can be actually expressed by a vector. Okay, some arrow seen like this. Okay, so if again we have to know that if a dipole moment is there, then maybe dipole moments may be present in the bonds, but the net dipole moment of that molecule may not be actually may not have net dipole moment actually. Okay, because let's suppose for example carbon dioxide has dipole moment in the carbon double bond oxygen and carbon double bond oxygen. Okay, the two bonds. two double bonds, okay, but they actually going to cancel each other because the directions are opposite to each other and also the magnitudes are same, so they will going to cancel the dipole moments by actually one dipole moment will going to cancel the other dipole moments, okay. So that means the net dipole moment will going to be 0, so it will also going to depends upon the structure of the molecules of that solvents or of that substance also, okay. So and it's suppose let's suppose again we can take an example of water, okay. Water has what V shape, because if you know the hybridizations, and hybridization actually gives you the shape of a molecule, okay. From actually class 11 we know these things, okay. Hybridization, what is hybridization? Actually hybridization gives the concept of your structure of a molecule, okay, or any compound. So if you know the hybridization of water, okay, mainly oxygen atom, then it will going to give you actually V shape. And because of this V shape, actually the oxygen hydrogen, there are two bonds or two oxygen hydrogen bonds are there. So and in the two bonds actually there are dipole moments, okay. But the thing is that here because this the actually the shape is in V shape, so they will the dipole moment will not going to cancel each other, but they will going to add up with each other, because actually it is like a vector addition, okay. So when we add some vector, then I think you already know the vector addition and subtraction in mathematics class, okay. It is simple like that only. So that means the water will going to give some net dipole moment, because their dipole moments of the each bond will not going to cancel each other, and they will going to have some net dipole moments, okay. So that means they will going to give some polar nature, okay. So that means the water solvent has polar nature, or that means we can say this water is a polar solvent. So if some polar molecule or polar substance we want to actually if we add some polar substance or polar solute in that water molecules or water solvent, then because they have same polarity, or that means they are polar, both are polar, that means the solvents are also polar and the solute molecules are also polar, then they will going to that means the solute will going to dissolve in that solvent, understand. As for example sodium chloride, that means the normal salt, okay. So the sodium chloride can easily dissolve in water, okay. Ammonium hydroxide, okay. So there are many examples which can actually dissolve in the water, okay. And what is the solubility? The solubility is actually the maximum amount of that sodium chloride or the ammonium hydroxide which can be dissolved in a particular or a specified amount of solvent, okay. So solubility is actually quantification of actually how much we can actually quantify, okay. We can quantify actually how much amount of that solute can be dissolved in a specified or a specific amount of solvent, okay. So solubility is actually quantitative approach to actually represent the how much amount of the solute is dissolving or solute is going to dissolve in a particular specific amount of solvent, understand. So this is about the polar. So what about the actually non-polar? Similarly, actually non-polar substance or non-polar solute can also dissolve in non-polar solvent, okay. That means mainly organic substance or organic compounds are non-polar in nature, okay. So they can be dissolved in non-polar solvent, mainly organic solvents, okay. Organic solvent like benzene, okay. So I think we understand about the terms like dissolves likes. So what is the meaning of like dissolves likes? That means if your solute is polar, then it will going to dissolve in polar solvent. If your solute is non-polar, then it will going to only dissolve in non-polar solvent, clear. So when we are talking about this process, when we are actually talking about this solubility, actually some process will going to occur, okay. Some processes will occur, and to term these processes we have to know, actually we are term this process by some terms, okay, like dissolutions or crystallization, like this, okay. So what about this thing, okay? What is dissolution? Actually dissolution is actually, let's suppose we are taking some solute, let's suppose polar solute, and we are put that polar solute in what let's suppose in polar solvent. Then what will going to happen? That polar solute will going to some molecule of that solute from that solid state will going to transfer from that solid into the solvent. That means they will going to form the solution. Okay, that means the concentration of the solute particles, okay, in that solution will going to increase. Understand? So but what will going to happen at times, actually after some time, if there are sufficient amount of solutes, solutes, okay, or if we add a sufficient amount of solid solute into that solvent, then some some particles of the solutes which are dissolved in that solution or solvent will going to come back to the or get separated out of the solution, okay, and it will become again solid solute, and this process is known as actually crystallization process. Okay, so this crystallization and actually the dissolution process and crystallization process is actually opposite to each other. Okay, and if the rate of the dissolution, that means the how fast the dissolution, or the you can say the the process in which the solute, that means solid solute will going to go to that solution or in that solvent is known as dissolution. Okay, and what is the rate actually, how fast? Okay, if the rate of the dissolution process is equal to the rate of the crystallization process, okay, that means if the rate of the dissolution process and if the rate of the crystallization process is same, or the rate is equal rate, then what will going to happen, there will be some equilibrium will going to exist. So equilibrium will exist means there will be some actually dynamic equilibrium. Okay, and because of this actual dynamic equilibrium, at that equilibrium actually the concentration will going to be a fixed concentration. Okay, the concentration of the solution will become a fixed concentration. Okay, understand? And we can reach what, the dynamic equilibrium, and actually this can be represented by like this. Okay, the solute plus solvent. So that means when we add some solute in solvent, and it will become solution. Okay, again that from that solution, again what will going to happen, some solute can come back to the solute form, and if solute will come actually separated out from the solution, then again some solvent and solute will be observed, and this is actually reversible sign. Okay, this reversible, this arrow, this is forward arrow, this is backward arrow. Okay, so this arrow represent actually reversible. Okay, so that means the rate is, the forward rate is equal to the backward rate. Understand? So and this stage, at this stage we know we actually term the solution as what, they are in dynamic equilibrium state. Understand? And actually at this dynamic equilibrium stage, the concentration of the solute in the solution will actually remain constant. This is very important. Okay, remain constant, but the thing is that at under a given condition. So the condition is what, the temperature and the pressure should be fixed. So that means we are able to understand that the solubility of the solids in a liquid will going to depends upon the nature of first of all, it will going to depend upon the nature of the solute as well as the solvent, because that means the whether it is polar or non-polar. Okay, understand? And the second thing is that it will going to depends upon what, some factors like temperature and pressure. That means at a fixed pressure and a fixed temperature, it will have a fixed solubility. Understand? So if you vary the temperature and pressure, then the solubility of the solid will also going to differ, or it will going to varies. Clear? So that means we learn from this solubility in a solid, solubility of a solid in a liquid, that the solubility of a solid in a liquid is depends upon mainly four factors. One is the nature of the solute, and the second is the nature of the solvent, and we able to know that they are actually related. Actually the the nature of the solutes is, if it is polar, then it will going to dissolve in polar solvent. If it is non-polar, that means the solute is non-polar, then the the solvent must be non-polar to dissolve the solute. Okay, so this is the two factors. And what is the third factor? And fourth factors are the mainly temperature and pressure. Okay, so that means if we change this temperature and pressure, then the extent of solubility, that means how much solute will going to dissolve in a fixed amount of solvent will going to vary. Okay, clear? Again, we already able to know that a fixed amount of solute can be or a maximum amount of solute can be dissolved in a specific amount of solvent. Okay, so after actually the limit, if we add solute, suppose we add some solute after that limit, okay, that maximum limit of the solutes, okay, then the solute will not going to, the additional solute will not going to dissolve in that solution. So the limit, that means at that limit the solution is known as the actually saturated solution, or it is actually defined as like the solution in which no more solute can be dissolved at the same temperature and pressure is called a saturated solution. Okay, so what about unsaturated solution? So the unsaturated solution means, let's suppose you have a solution, but actually it is not saturated. That means if we add more solute in that solution, then the additional solute can be dissolved. So that means there are some some room left in that solvents in which actually additional solute can be dissolved to form the solution. Okay, and actually an unsaturated solution is defined as like this. Okay, the solution in which actually more solute can be dissolved at the same temperature. Clear? So this is known as unsaturated solution. And sometime in exam they may ask you the difference between saturated and unsaturated solution, also maybe the definition also. Okay, so try to understand the terms. Okay, in your book it is also written that the solution which is in a dynamic equilibrium with undissolved solute is the saturated solution and contains the maximum amount of solute dissolved in the given amount of solvent. So it is already discussed. Okay, so it is already explained. So actually in practically how we can prepare a saturated solution. So actually what we do, let's suppose we have to prepare a sodium chloride solution. Okay, so for that actually we will take some water as a solvent and we'll add excess amount of sodium chloride and try to stir it, okay, by using some spoon or something like that, or stir. Okay, so when we stir this thing, this solvent, then the solute is going to dissolve. Okay, we add more and more and more up to until and unless some precipitate will going to, some sodium chloride salt precipitate will going to be in found in below of that beaker or that glass. Okay, so after getting that solution, we will going to filter the solution to separate the precipitate out from that solution, and the filtrate which is actually gained from that solution, filtrate, okay, not the precipitate, filtrate is actually your saturated solution. So we actually basically we can prepare a saturated solution like this. Actually we can add excess amount of that solute, and the remaining amount which is not dissolved in that solution can be separated by using some filtration process. Okay, clear? So this is the technique. Actually we can prepare the saturated solution. In the initial part of this discussion, we have already discussed about the the effects of the effects which will going to determine the solubility of the solid in solvent. Okay, actually we have discussed in details about the the two factors mainly. Okay, the nature of the solute and the nature of the solvent, okay, in details. Now let us discuss about the remaining two factors in details which will going to determine the solubility of a solid in liquids. Okay, so the first one is what? The effects of temperature. So if you look at the equation 2.10, which is actually the dynamic equilibrium between the solute plus solvent and solution. Okay, so when we are talking about dynamic equilibrium, then actually all the dynamic equilibriums or all the equilibriums actually try to follow the Le Chatelier principle. So you have to know the Le Chatelier principles. Actually we have actually discussed the Le Chatelier principle in class 11, okay, in the chemical equilibrium as well as the ionic equilibrium chapter. Okay, so try to go through that topics. Okay, and actually the main concept of Le Chatelier principle is that if let's suppose we have some reaction and that reaction is, let's suppose, are in equilibrium position. Okay, so suppose this is your reactant and product. Okay, so if we remove some product from that reaction, then what will going to happen, that actually to gain the dynamic equilibrium, more product will going to form. That means the forward reaction will going to be dominated over the backward reaction, unless and until it will going to become or it will gain the dynamic equilibrium. So if we again suppose we remove some reactant from that reaction vessel, then what will going to happen, some product will going to come back from the product state to the reactant state. That means the backward reaction will going to be more dominant over the forward reactions. Okay, unless and until it will going to get the dynamic equilibrium. So this is actually Lassiter principle. So similarly, actually, if you compare this, or if you try to understand the Lassiter principles in this dissolution process, then what will going to happen? Let's suppose here it is solute plus solvent, and this is in dynamic equilibrium with the solution. Okay, so if you add more solute, then what will going to happen? Then the forward reaction is going to be more. Okay, if it is unsaturated solution, okay, that forward reaction will become more and more solution. That means the concentration of the solution will become more, because it will going to dissolve in that solvent. Okay, clear. The solute will become solute try to actually dissolve more in that solution or solvent. Okay, so again, if you removes some amount of solute or some amount of solvent, then what will going to happen? Some solute will going to come back from their dissolution or from the solution to the solid state. That means in the solute state. Clear. So this is actually this process actually try to become equilibrium. They actually try to gain the equilibrium position. Okay, so this is so that means actually by using this concept, Lassiter principle, we can also understand the effect of temperature. Okay, so here according to Lassiter principle, we understand that if a reaction, if it is in dynamic equilibrium, if we remove the product, then it will again going to form the more product, because if you remove some product, then what happen? Dynamic equilibrium will going to disturb. Okay, some products are less than the reactants. Okay, clear. So to get the equilibrium position, some reactant will going to form some product to equilibrate it, or to gain the dynamic equilibrium position. Understand? So similarly here, let's suppose we have a solvent. Okay, we have a solvent in a beaker and we add some solute, and if in the dissolution process is endothermic. Okay, so what is endothermic? Endothermic means if we add the solute in a solvent, and if the temperature of the system is decreasing, that means the dissolution process will going to absorb some heat energy from the surrounding. That only the temperature will going to decrease, it will going to absorb. So at that condition, what will going to happen? At that endothermic process, if the temperature is decreasing for this dissolution process, then what will going to happen? If we increase the temperature, then the dissolution process will going to be in faster rate. Okay, why? Because the process requires energy from outside, because it try to absorb energy from outside. Okay, if this process absorb energy from outside, then the temperature of the system will going to, or from actually the surrounding will going to decrease. Okay, clear. So if we increase the temperature for endothermic process, then the dissolution process will going to increase for endothermic process. Clear. So this is very important. And also remember this point, that the del H is always greater than 0 for endothermic process. So what is del H? Del H is actually the enthalpy, change of enthalpy. We have already discussed this in thermodynamics chapter, okay, in class 11. So actually enthalpy, change of enthalpy is actually what? Change of the heat during this process, okay, at constant pressure. Clear. This is actually the change of enthalpy of that. If you consider the system, then if you actually consider or if you actually concentrate on system, or if you want to calculate the change of enthalpy for the system, then you have to say that the change in the heat in that system, okay, during the process at constant pressure is known as your change in enthalpy of the system. Clear. So try to remember that in case of endothermic process, that means if the dissolution process is endothermic, then we have to increase the temperature to increase the solubility of the solute. Clear? So and the opposite is actually observed in exothermic process. If the dissolution process is exothermic, that means this process will going to actually emit heat. That means del S is less than 0. It will going to emit heat, so the system energy heat del S is will becomes less than 0. Okay, so if it will going to emit heat, then the surrounding temperature will going to increase. Understand? So if you try to touch the the beaker in which actually you this dissolution process occur, then the temperature of the beaker will going to increase if the process is exothermic. That means this dissolution process. Okay, so if in such cases, if you increase the temperature more, then what will going to happen? Because of this less Hettelaar principle, the process will going to decrease. That means the dissolution process will going to decrease if you increase the temperature for exothermic process. Understand? So the second point is what? Second point is that if the dissolution process is exothermic process, then the increment of temperature will decrease the dissolution process. Okay, or you can say that the decrease of temperature of the surrounding will increase the dissolution process of this or you can say the solubility of the solute. Clear? So I hope you understand these two concept. That means the effect of temperature for endothermic as well as exothermic, and these are very important. Okay, often in exam these questions are actually question from this effect of temperature were coming and also maybe will come. Okay, so you have to understand this point. Okay, what is the effect of temperature actually? One well-known example of this exothermic reaction is actually the reaction of lime with water. Okay, so, to produce or to prepare the salt lime salt. Okay, so actually this is the preparation of calcium hydroxide. Also we can get the lime water from that reaction, and actually this reaction is a very exothermic reaction. Okay, so if you touch the the beaker or the the apparatus in which the you try to prepare the solution, then actually the the outside of the beaker or the the apparatus will be actually hot. So that means the temperature will going to increase. So this is a very interesting example. Okay, that means the dissolution process will be decreased if you further increase the temperature of the the beaker by applying some heat. So this is one example. Okay, let us now discuss about the effect of pressure in the solubility of the solid in liquid. Okay, so actually we already know that solid state and the liquid states are rarely we can actually compress them. So if you want to compress them, actually you have to apply very huge amount of pressure. Okay, so actually the pressure will not going to have significant effect on the solubility of the solid in liquids. Okay, because they are very actually these solids and also the liquids are actually highly incompressible. Okay, and practically they are actually remain same, or actually they are unaffected by the change in pressure. So the effect of the pressure in the solubility of solid in liquids are actually minimal. They actually very minimum. Okay, so we can ignore actually the effect of pressure in the solubility of the solid in liquid. Okay, but in case of gas, that means in case of solubility of a gas in a liquid, the pressure will going to affects hugely. So in the next point or next topic we are going to discuss about the effect of pressure. Okay, mainly in the solubility of the gas in the liquid. So we will going to get one law, okay, by using which we can have also some we can solve some numerical problems. Okay, so in this video we have discussed about mainly, first of all we will discuss about the definition of solubility. So solubility is what? Solubility is actually the maximum amount of solute which can be dissolved in a specific amount of solvent at a fixed amount of actually fixed temperature and pressure. Okay, and again we have discussed about the four main factors which will going to determine the solubility of solid in a liquid. Okay, which are what? Nature of the solute, nature of solvent, okay, effect of temperature and effect of pressure, which is actually pressure is negligible. Okay, so mainly the three factors which are actually nature of solvent and solute, and the effect of temperature will going to determine the the actually the solubility of your solid in liquids. Okay, so hope you understand the all the topics, and also here Le Chatelier principle you see. So actually the class 11 topics which are actually thermodynamics, you can say thermodynamics chapter, and also the chemical equilibrium chapter, actually these all are actually concept building chapters. Actually we're going to encounter more topics from class 11. Actually if you don't understand those topics, then you're going to find difficulties to understand the topics which are in class 12. Okay, and also in the atomic structure in which the quantum parts are also there, also a little part. So I think this is enough for today, and from the next class actually we'll discuss about the solubility of gases in liquid. So we're going to get a very important law here. Okay, so try to understand this. Okay, so thank you.